Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure and honor to be here in a more relaxed environment than the Jummah time when we are all in rush, have to do everything in 25 minutes and get out. I am blessed to be here. I was asked to share some reflections about I believe in Arabic it's Madrasat al-Ramadan, School of Ramadan, or things that one ought to be doing in the month of Ramadan. And so I made a brief presentation. Inshallah, we will try to do this in less than 30 minutes and then leave some time for some discussions between ourselves. Most of us, it is safe to assume that we all know what we do in Ramadan, and we have been doing things in Ramadan for all our lives. So it's rather difficult to repeat the same things again, and it's also belittling the intellect and the intelligence of all of us. We have grown into Ramadan all our lives. But I thought I will share some reflections in two areas. One, it is always helpful to repeat and to reiterate, to re-strengthen our understanding about Ramadan. And the second part is to give some very practical, specific suggestions and ideas for all of us, as adults, as young people, as students, as non-students, that we can use this occasion of Ramadan in a practical and effective way. So the first part of my presentation is, in the month of fasting, I consider, when people sometimes ask me what is so special about Ramadan, fasting is assumed unless and until there are some very specific reasons we all fast. But there is much more to it than simply fasting. And generally I respond that in the month of fasting, we feast spiritually. It is a celebration of spiritual enjoyment and enrichment. Fasting is the obvious and the easy aspect of the month of Ramadan. So this, in fact, I consider to be a spiritual feast for us, that we are literally celebrating the entire month, not just the conclusion of the month at the end of the month, but every day, every minute, it's a feast. It's an enjoyment. It's not a physical enjoyment, but it's a spiritual enjoyment, because we involve ourselves in a very intense way to re-strengthen our iman, re-strengthen our spirit. And hence, the famous ayah that we always are reminded of in Surah Al-Baqarah, which essentially is the premise and the root of the month of Ramadan, that indeed this is the month in which we have revealed the Quran and prescribed to you the fasting, except those who are traveling and ill, and so on and so forth. That whole ayah that we oftentimes repeat and remind ourselves. But within this month we obviously have certain very specific benefits, the moral and the spiritual training of ourselves in order to live our life in line with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the year. Purification of our bodies, of our minds, of our soul, of our spirit. Tazkiyat al-nafs, in other words. As well, seeking the proximity and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the acts of piety and taqwa. And certainly a great deal of self-discipline in the course of the month, and patience, sabr in this month. These are some primary lessons that we draw from the month of Ramadan. But what I like to do is maybe take a minute or two. I have developed this for my own self, that there are some prerequisites for us to enjoy the Ramadan to the fullest extent in the best possible manner. We can do this routinely and ritually like we have been doing, I believe, and we continue to do, and there is benefit for that as well. But if we do intentionally prepare ourselves in a very specific manner, in a methodical way, I believe the spiritual enjoyment is much more than otherwise. So I suggest these 10 prerequisites or 10 preparations for the month of Ramadan. First is intention, is making a niyyah, consciously, deliberately, intentionally. Intention is the premise and the basis of all kinds of ibadah and all acts of worship. I can come to salat, make sujood, do 3 rakas and walk away. Or I can make a very special intention before coming to salat, and that intention becomes the basis of my doing whatever that I am doing. And hence, making a very specific intention in this blessed month prior to its coming, not after it comes, will be extremely, extremely helpful, and it will help us focus for this blessed month of Ramadan. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reminding us in this particular hadith that whosoever fasts in Ramadan with faith, with deliberate, intentional faith, and seeking the reward from Allah, all his past sins are forgiven. So there could be for lack of better expression, there could be a personal motive that I have done wrongs in my life. I like that to be resolved, and therefore I am going to use this month as a source of that. None of us can say I have not made mistakes in the last 11 months. All of us have made mistakes knowingly and unknowingly with a degree of variation. So we all deserve to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our mistakes. The other aspect, also important aspect of particularly the act of fasting, unlike all other acts of ibadah, there is the invisible aspect of fasting. When I am praying, it's visible. People are watching me, people are seeing me, I am watching others. I am doing Hajj or Umrah, or I am being generous, I am giving, doing some. It's not an invisible act. Fasting is one of the few acts of ibadahs which is invisible. You don't know whether I'm fasting or not. You just trust me because I said so. And likewise, it's true about you, because I don't know whether you're fasting or not. It's invisible. It's between you and your Creator. So there is no third party involved, which makes it very special, because now you are more focused in doing whatever that you are doing for no other reason but for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly, indeed we try to emulate the life of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in all aspects of life. And Ramadan is no different. Following the sunnah to the best possible way, in the best possible way, is also extremely important and helpful. We can fast ritually and again do it for the sake of doing it, or do it for an intentional purpose that I am intensely going to spiritually revive myself in this blessed month, which is what Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to use in this particular month. Intense ibadah in order to seek proximity and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thirdly, indeed refraining, avoiding all of the things that are haram or makruh or not permitted or not liked, those things that we indeed try to stay away from, which is not simply food and drink, but rather words, ideas, thoughts, actions, all aspects of life, that we try to refrain from things that are not liked and in line with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another hadith in this context in Tirmidhi, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reports, says that whosoever does not leave bad words and bad actions, ill words and ill actions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not care if he leaves his food and drink. So it becomes irrelevant. So while I am refraining from food and drink and so on, but I am not refraining from all the unhealthy other activities, then that's not necessarily liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fourthly, this month is defined because Quran was given as a gift to us in this month. If nothing else, this is the single most important distinction of this month than all other 11 months. Our relationship with Quran, for the most part, is ritual and ceremonial. So we do the 30 days of Taraweeh, we do some Qiyam, and so on. But chances are that most of us, in most of the times, don't really understand what Quran is all about. When I say what Quran is all about, its content, its substance, and its message. Reading, enjoying, receiving that spiritual enrichment when we listen to beautiful recitation certainly has its place. It moves you, it touches you, it empowers you, it makes you cry, it makes you enjoy. And these are very natural human feelings. But when we are not reciting and not listening to the recitation, then you don't have the same feeling. You can have that feeling only if we have the understanding of it. And hence, this month we must take an extraordinary effort in order to establish a very tangible love relationship with Quran. The sacred relationship we do have. We have the Quran generally in the highest of the bookshelf in our homes. Oftentimes they are never taken out, so it's dusty, all pages are sticking to each other. I like to see my Quran, messed up. Marks, sticky notes, side notes, question marks, all of that, because it's a book that I'm interacting with on a daily basis. That's a very important aspect of Ramadan that we need to bring in our lives. Fifthly, prayer. And prayer is not just the daily prayer and the ritual prayer and the Taraweeh prayer and so on, but also dua, supplication. This is the month when we should cry as much as possible, in solitude and collectively. The best position that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our du'as is in the state of sajda. And you can make sajda anywhere you want, so long as it's a clean place, obviously. In your bedroom, in your office, in your school, in your playground, wherever that we are. Allah loves those who make sujood and asks Him and asks for whatever that you like to ask Him for. Sixthly, generosity and charity, which has a special place in the month of Ramadan. Oftentimes we think quantity defines charity and generosity. The reverse is true, in fact. Quantity is irrelevant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Absolutely irrelevant. What's relevant to the divine is the quality by which I give. Not how much I give, but how I give. And that's also not tangible and physical in the sense of material things, but all other acts of charities, bringing comfort and relief to a person who is stressed or who is in anxiety, a person who is in some type of trial and challenge, a person who is at unease for whatever reason, and I bring that relief and comfort to that. All of these acts are great acts of charity. Seventh is family. You know, we live a very busy life in our professional and personal lives, and I have said this in my khutbahs here many a times, that we spend 1/3 of our life in the worldly matters to sustain ourselves, work, job, education, so on. 1/3 of our life we spend in eating, sleeping, attending to natural chores. So what we are left with is really 1/3 of our life. And of that 1/3 of our life, part of it is spent as children, when we are not accountable for. The remaining part of life is when we are really too old. We are reaching closer to meeting Allah, when our intellect is not at the sharpest. So if we really examine our life, we have a very short period of time, from my estimation, anywhere between 10 to 15 years average for people who live in the United States. That's only the time frame that you have genuinely, sincerely, effectively, you can establish a relationship with your Creator. The rest is all ritual, frankly. Generally speaking, again, there are a lot of exceptions. And when it comes to family, the time we give to our family, and again, I have said this in my khutbahs as well, is very limited. Take your day. Just take a quick cursory look at your day. You leave to work at 8 o'clock, you come back at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you have barely an hour or two for dinner and so on, and then you're tired, you probably watch TV, check the mail, and 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, kids go to sleep or you go to sleep. How much exact time did we spend with the family? If you literally calculate, the quality time you're spending with kids is no more than an hour. No, if you're lucky. If you are deliberate in spending the time with your family, no more than an hour. If you are a working adult, that's the time, 60 minutes of the time you're spending with your children. Now ask yourself, can I shape the heart and mind of my child in that 60 minutes in the manner in which I think my child should be? Very challenging. Now there are other possibilities that if I intentionally, that's why I mentioned the first item of these 10 prerequisites is the intention. If I want to use my time, then I'll find time. Invariably, I'll find time. And that, therefore, is extremely important. Certainly, doing suhoor together, doing iftar together, we go for this party, this uncle, that aunt, this neighbor, that neighbor. That's all good. We need to do that. But suhoor, nobody invites anybody to suhoor. So it's a lot of fun to get together as an entire family, particularly for male members. How about we, for a change, wake everybody up and we get up an hour before and we tell the entire family, I'm going to make suhoor. You make iftar, I'll make suhoor for all of you. Try that, and it's a very fulfilling and spiritually enjoyable experience. Eighthly, just the daily conduct in our life, what we do while we are fasting, taking an extra step, taking an extra measure to be cautious in our dealings during the course of the entire month, in business, in school. Of course, there is no school, but those of young adults who are taking summer school, especially it is important that this particular month we need to take an extra measure in our all aspects of life. Driving on the freeway, somebody cuts you off. In normal circumstances, our response would be different than perhaps if you make an intention in the month of Ramadan, the response could be a little bit different. So, idfa billati ahsana, in other words, that Quranic principle that always repay to the other in a coin that's better than the currency that you were paid in. Ninthly, tafakkur. Oftentimes we make ourselves spiritually so busy, reading Quran and doing dhikr and making salat and so on. Again, this is all very good. But I like us to also take few moments of doing nothing. Literally doing nothing. Just clean our minds completely. And in those few precious moments, I would make an attempt to connect with my Creator. Try that. That's the best form of dhikr. That's the best form of internal reflection. You could do one day, I'm going to evaluate my last year. Another time, I want to evaluate my business. Another time, I want to evaluate my family. Another time, I want to evaluate myself. Give yourself the 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however much you can afford. Trust me, those few minutes are the most challenging minutes that you will have in your daily life. It is very easy to talk that like I'm talking. It is very difficult to stay quiet and think. And Quran offers us many, many examples of this tafakkur and tadabbur, reflect and ponder. I am walking on the street and I see this beautiful green tree with purple flowers or flowers of multiple colors. I am thinking about the beauty of creation. And so many examples. The tafakkur and tadabbur is also an extremely important aspect of life. Thinking also about dunya and akhirah. This is all delusion, as Quran says. This is all illusion, as Quran says. What is in the hereafter is the reality. Some early scholars in the month of Ramadan, they used to go in the graveyards and sit in an empty grave and think about the reality. We don't have those facilities here. But it is also not a bad idea occasionally to take some time off and think in our exercise of reflection. What if I am destined to die tomorrow? Let's say, assume, hypothetically speaking, that we know that we have 48 hours to live. What would I do with these 48 hours? Everything in my life prior to that becomes meaningless. Ask yourself, what would I do in these 48 hours? What are the things that I am going to do? What are the things I am not going to do? How would I use this time? What will happen to my mind, to my psyche, now that I know my 48 hours only? Those types of conversations with ourselves will bring about a different perspective of life, a different perspective in life, a different perspective about Ramadan and fasting and so on. And lastly, also in the month of Ramadan, sometimes some people make themselves very somber and sober and uptight and none of that should be good. We should be more very cheerful, as I started my talk, that this is a spiritual feast. It's a celebration for me. I want to enjoy every minute of this day, of night, because I don't know whether I'm going to get another month, another day. And therefore, be cheerful. There is a wonderful hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reported in Bukhari, Al-Adab Al-Mufrad, that when you fast, let not the signs of fast be seen on you. So there is an obvious physical hardship on the body. No doubt about it. It happens. But what Prophet is saying here, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let that physical hardship be not seen on you. In other words, I want to make myself more cheerful. Some people will not shave, some people will not put perfume on. Enjoy. Celebrate this beautiful time, not be dull and uptight and, hardened. Be open, be cheerful, be full of life. And in closing and lastly, there is a wonderful hadith that I ran into where, in fact, it's a part of the sermon that Prophet ﷺ gave towards the end of Shaban and before the beginning of Ramadan. So I took an excerpt from this long sermon, but this is just a small paragraph. Says he ﷺ, O people, a great and a blessed month is approaching you. In this month there is a night that's better than 1,000 months, that we know, Laylatul Qadr. Allah has made fasting obligatory and prayers at night commendable during this month. Whosoever will do a voluntary good deed during this month, it is as if he performed an obligatory good deed at another time. And whoever will perform an obligatory good deed, it is as if he performed 70 obligatory good deeds at another time. This is the month of patience, and the reward for patience is Jannah. This is the month of kindness, and in this month the believer's provision is increased. Whoever will give food or sustenance to a person who is fasting in this month, it will bring forgiveness for his sins. Will save him from the hellfire, and he shall have his reward, while the fasting person will not lose any of his reward. Again, this is to reiterate and re-emphasize the importance of small things but consistently during the course of a month, rather than the last 10 days your iman is on a bullet train and the first 20 days it's on a steam engine. You don't want that. You want consistency throughout the course of month. So these are 10 suggestions, sort of prerequisites for the preparation of Ramadan. Now, I'll talk another 15 minutes maybe with these some tools, very specific tools that I practice religiously every year, and I give this to my children. And some of my children practice this, some don't, and some have modified this. So there is no specific formula for this, and I will leave this at the masjid, and you are more than welcome to copy this. And we have posted this on the Shura Council website also. You can download and print. It's all about intentions. So I have developed a small guide, a Ramadan planning guide. I plan, and we all plan what I like to do in my summer months. So I have 60-day holidays, and I know exactly what I'm going to do in 2014 summer months. I know what I intend to do in 2015 summer. We plan for everything. If you don't plan for Ramadan, Ramadan will come, Ramadan will go. You and I will not benefit a thing from it. Trust me. But if we make an intentional plan and we commit ourselves to it to the best of our ability, inshallah, you will have a different experience. So this is a planning guide. You put your name, and this is between you and Allah. And if you like to make a fun activity, you can do so in your family. You can have a planning guide for the entire family, collectively what we like to do. So you put your name on, you put your planning period on, and then you take a promise to yourself. What is that promise? Again, you can modify this promise the way you want, but I have phrased it this way, that I thank Allah for His many blessings and pray to Him to grant me steadfastness in pursuing this plan. I pray that He accept this effort as a good deed in my account. I pray that I become a better person after this year's Ramadan. Inshallah, I plan to do the following to improve myself beginning from this year. So this is my pledge. You sign on it, and these are my goals. Whatever goals that you like, whatever your targets are. And in ibadah, so there are different categories. There is an ibadah. So in ibadah, what I like to, how many prayers I like to do, and on time, how many voluntary, how many obligatory, and so on. And then how many of the first salat do I offer? And you can actually, there is a matrix here. My current status, my 1 month goal, what's my level achieved, my 3 months goal, and then you check yourself after 1 month and after 3 months if you have improved, not improved, so you can plan accordingly. Then there is a category of study. I will read at least X number of pages of Quran. I will read a book on Prophet's life. I will read a book on Islamic literature. I will write certain pages about what I have read. You know, sometimes reading is one aspect of learning, but if you write what you have read for your own self, it instills in you even deeper knowledge about what you have read rather than simply reading it. I will learn certain Islamic terms in Arabic and understand its meaning. I will learn certain du'as, certain supplications in Arabic with meaning. Believe me, when we learn even the smallest of the most common of the du'as that we read, Rabbana atina fid dunya, if we know the meaning of it as that du'a is being heard or we are reciting ourselves, the condition of our heart changes completely. Try that. And then hasanat, you know, I'll do certain good things, mend my relationships. I am sure each one of us have had problems with some people, in our friends, in our family, during this course of last year. We made some new friends, we lost some friends. May have happened with the family relationships. It happens, to all of us it happens. But I am going to make an attempt now that I will make I know I'm going to target this person who I have had a little rough time last year. I want to fix it. I want to make it better. Helping my neighbors or helping my colleagues. You know, we all know some people within our community, within our family, within our network who may have had challenges of different kinds. I want to target myself that I will do whatever I can for this person. And then in the family relationships, for children, for spouses, for brothers and sisters, and so on. And there are different questions, different types of things and activities that we are suggesting. So that this becomes my planning guide. I can add as many pages as I want. Different other categories if you so choose. Then I have another resource for us, my Ramadan resolution for this year. You know, people make New Year resolution, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Nobody loses 20 pounds. They add more pounds. But in Ramadan, let's make a resolution, and that resolution also includes in different categories about salah, Quran, dua, health. You know, we often don't take care of ourselves. Knowledge, doing good, refraining from not good, and about Ramadan. So there are different activities, in these different 10 categories that you can make a resolution. This is my Ramadan timetable. 24-hour timetable for each day for the month of Ramadan, from time of suhoor until time of tahajjud. And you can plug in whatever you like to plug in. It's a very easy template. You can again take it electronically from the Shura Council website, download it, put your name on it, make changes to it as you like. But you have your calendar, and you post one in your office, post one in your bedroom, put one in your car, and you see whether you are following this. This is the best time management tool. In Ramadan, there is no time. You don't want to lose time. Some of you may have heard my khutbah here on time. This is the only thing that I cannot give it to you, you cannot give it to me. I cannot give it to my wife. I love her too much, but I can't give my time to her. She cannot give her time to me. What's hers is hers, what mine is mine. This is the only thing that we all are blessed with. And I don't know, and you don't know, and none of us know if I am going to have time tomorrow. Today is the time I have. These few moments I have is the time I have. I don't know if I'm going to have another minute. So unless I plan and schedule myself fully organized for the entire month in a very effective way, this time will pass. This time will pass. It will not wait for us. And lastly, these are some ideas also for neighbors. If you are going to school, what are the things you can do on campus? If you are in a workplace, what are the things you can do? This is a good dawah tool to help others learn about Islam, to help others get introduced to Islam. You know, people get fascinated. Wow, you fast 14 hours, 13 hours without drinking, without... It's a fascination for many people. Although now Ramadan is not alien in the popular American culture. A lot of people know about Ramadan. So we can use this as a tool to introduce Islam to our friends and relatives and neighbors. And lastly, in one of the ideas, in fact, in the neighbors, I believe I have suggested this, that have a neighborhood iftar gathering. You know, oftentimes we invite ourselves, friends, those who we know, those who we don't know. Many of us are immigrants, and I am pretty sure that those of us who are old enough, we can remember our time as children in the native countries. Iftar exchange with neighbors whom you don't know was a normal routine. We all know that there is a family who lives 4 doors, and you send something and they send something. And as a young child, I remember 15 minutes, 10 minutes before iftar, in the little locality that I used to live in, kids are running around with the little trays in their hand. Why? Because mothers would give it to them, go give it to that house, go give it in that house. Why? It is communal living, communal goodwill. Now, we don't have that arrangement here. Everybody lives a mile away, half a mile away, 2 miles away. So it's not possible. But what we can do is we do with our neighbors. Who said, or why I still fail to understand why we don't share our iftar with our non-Muslim neighbors? I don't understand. I'm enjoying fresh food and so on, little tray, my special ethnic cuisine, and I'm sending it to my Hispanic friend, my Korean friend, my Caucasian friend, my African American friend in the neighborhood, and they simply ask, what is this? And then you explain to them. That's a conversation. Or you invite them over to break fast with you. I tell my very close friends, and I would not insist on any of us, but I insist on many of my close friends who invites me for Ramadan iftars. I say that I'll come only on one condition, that I'll bring a non-Muslim friend with myself to your house so that they can as well enjoy. And when that happens, you will be fascinated that, you know, you are making that small difference in bringing about a change in somebody else's mind about Islam, about Ramadan, about Muslims, about our life, our families, and so on and so forth. So I would hope and pray that we all make this specific intention to receive the blessings of Ramadan in an intentional way, rather than letting this blessed month pass by without us benefiting from it fully. Jazakumullah khairan for your patience, for your sabr, for listening to me. And I will leave these documents in the masjid, and if any of you like to have a copy of this, do please ask the masjid administration. They'll give you, or you can go to the Shura Council website, which is shuracouncil.org, and you can download any of these documents that I referred to. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.